what I'm going to do first, I'm going to show you a really cool foot. And this is yet another 1/4 inch piecing foot. It is actually the 1/4 inch quilting foot with guide is what it's called. But it will fit all of our machines, whether you have an Altair, a Destiny, or the Solaris, or a lot of the other machines. It fits groups A, B, D, and G. And it is the 1/4 inch quilting foot with a guide. And if I'm not piecing with the digital dual feed, this is what I like to piece with. So I'm just going to talk about this to start off with. Let me see here. There we go. There we go. Back it up a little bit. Have autofocus turned off, but that's the foot that I'm talking about right now. And there's a close-up view of it. Pretty cool. See that guide on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it back on, and I'm going to piece two of my blocks together, and then I'll move on to something else. Oops. Come on, little one. Get up in there. There you go. Alrighty. So I am going to piece. Let's see, what did I decide to sew together next? Well, I've got 4 blocks sewn together here, right here. I'm going to sew 2 more down on this bottom edge, right here. I'm just going to sew those down together. For thread, I am using Madeira Katona 50 weight thread. It's wonderful to piece with. And it's a high quality cotton thread, just like Aurifil. I love Aurifil as well, but you know what? I totally dig this Madeira thread. It's good stuff. Now, when I piece, I don't tie off the beginning or an end of a seam because I have my stitch length. Let's see here, there we go. I have my stitch length set at 1.8 millimeters. I find with it set there, I don't have to worry about tying off the beginning or end of a seam line, okay? So I'm just going to match up the seam where the blocks meet, and I'm just going to keep on going, okay? Oh, I know what I don't have turned on. One thing I love about the Solaris is the needle beam for my 1/4 inch. So I'm going to touch, see this little line right up here? I'm just going to touch that. Now, I already have it set up. So what is happening here, I have it set up so I have a red line on my fabric right here where and I don't think I can get that on camera. Let me see here, because this light's pretty bright. So, but those of you with the Solaris know exactly what I'm talking about. I have a red laser line where the needle drop is, and then I have a green line over here right on the edge of my fabric. And that denotes a 1/4 inch from the needle. And that's what I'm using to keep things lined up. And then it can also butt it right up against that metal guide along the edge of the foot as well. Easy peasy. And rarely will I actually, let me just close that. I saw it flashing. Rarely will I actually pin. I will butt seams together. That seems to really work well for me, especially when you know you have been maintaining a perfect 1/4 inch seam throughout. Everything just lines up perfectly when that happens. These quilt blocks, I just finished piecing them last night. When I moved the studio around over the last couple of weeks, I found a bunch of UFOs. So guess what you're going to be seeing me sew on some of my live demos are some of my UFOs, because I want to get this quilt top pieced, and then I'm going to put it in my long arm and quilt it. Okay, course, this is all Tula Pink fabric, so those of you that know me know that makes it really special for me. I love my Tula Pink fabrics. Okay, so I just got 6 blocks out of 81 sewn together. Yes, there are 81 blocks in this quilt. It's the way it worked out. And there we go. So, right there, you can see that. So all of the fabric for this came from one bundle of pre-cut fat quarters, and that's what I used to make this. Quilt with. So there's that. Just a couple little hints and tricks and tips about how I like to piece when I'm not using that digital dual feed foot. The other thing I want to talk about tonight is in IQ, because one thing that's super great about the Solaris and the decorative fill stitches, there are 42 decorative fill stitches in the Solaris, but you're able to edit those with a few more steps than you can in some of the other machines. So I'm going to go up here to Home and go to IQ. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a box in here so I can demo what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to put a square box in there. This is nothing I'm going to sew out. I'm going to turn on the fill bucket. I'm going to go into the menu, into the decorative fills. And for this demo, I'm going to use number 5, which are the circles. I call them pebbles. And I'm going to select that and click on OK, and then touch the inside and fill it. Now, when we hit the next button, we get to edit what this looks like. So, and I'm just going to kill that. I want that a no sew line. I should have done that for the beginning, but that's okay. That'll make it smaller and not as noticeable. So, next, we're going to go over here to our decorative fill. Now, this is 100%. So this screen automatically updates on the Solaris, so you don't have to hit the preview button, which is really a great feature. Now, the first 3 icons up here, that is how you change the size of your decorative fill. You can go down to 50%, which would be make them 1/2 smaller than what they currently are. Or you can go up to 200% and double the size of them, make them larger. The next one here, this is the angle. So you can change the angle of a design. It's not as noticeable on this one, but if you have something with a lot of straight lines in it, you can really change that angle to make it move any way that you want to. This one turns off and on an outline. So it would stitch an outline around that entire design. So there's pros and cons to that. One of the pros is if you have the outline on, for instance, on, what happens when you do that, you eliminate jump stitches around the perimeter of that design. Because if you look closely at this, there are a bunch of half circles all the way around that just end at the edge. If I didn't have outline on, it would stop and cut those threads. Not only the circle design, but any design. So with outline on, it actually uses that outline to travel on, so you only have one starting point and one stopping point. That's why I normally leave that on, because I like it. So, and that's a matter of personal preference. Let me get a drink of coffee. Okay. The one I really wanted to talk about tonight is number 4. Now, these 3 down here, they are only on the Solaris. This is where you can skew the design, and I'm going to go into great detail about that, because number 4 on this menu is the 4th one down, is really the one I'm going to focus on tonight. This is offset, and then this changes the thickness of the thread. With it where it's at right now, that's the thick stitch out. So that's exactly the type of stitch out you get on the Destiny and the Altair and the Meridian. If you touch that, you can see it says thickness, and there's a dark and a light. If you touch it and go to light, that will resemble the type of stitching that you would get if it was done on a long arm or with free motion, because it doesn't have 2 to 3 layers of thread on it. Normally it's just one, unless it has to travel back upon itself. So on the Solaris, I normally turn this down to the light on the thickness, because it more closely resembles long arm quilting if you're making a quilt. Now, if you're making a decorative item, I would have this on the heavier thickness, so the stitching shows up and has more of a contrast against the background fabric. Now, the cool thing about this one, let me touch that, and that's called random shift. What you can do with this is make those perfectly round circles kind of look like you free motioned them. So check it out. There are 18 different levels of random shift in this one menu. So right now it's set at 0, and that's normal. That's how they come in all the machines. Once I touch this button, now I'm at type A. There's also type B and type C. Each one of those have 6 levels of intensity. So on type A, if we just go from 1 to 2 and touch the OK button, it just randomly shifted everything. It's not perfect, they're not perfect circles, and it looks more natural. Like if you had really free motioned it, that's what it looks like. So let's touch it again and go up to level 3 on the random shift and click on OK, and it's going to preview it. And then it just, each one adds a little bit different randomness to the design. This is something to play with and to get it how you want to see it. This looks pretty cool. Some of these are ovals, some are small. It's pretty cool. Oops, wrong button, right there. Let's go up to 4. And now it's really starting to change the size of them and the shape. Totally cool. Let's go to 5. And this works on any of the decorative fills that are built into the machine. So instead of having 42 decorative fills, you can multiply that number times 18, and you actually have, and I don't have a calculator in front of me or my phone, because I can't do that math in my head, but that would be over 700, actually over 700 different decorative fills by adjusting the random shift. So let's go all the way up to number 6 and see what that does. And once again, it's yet different. Now, when you go from A to B to C, what that does, it changes, like in any type of graphic design software, they actually use what's called a point of reference to make that random shift come out from. So we're going to just leave it on 6, and I'm just moved it over to B, and I'm going to press on OK. Because now this one, oops, looks totally different than the previous one. Let me get back there. There we go. Let's go to C. And yet again, it changed where the random shift is happening. So that's how you can get 18 different looks from each of those 42 built-in decorative fills designs. And this is one of my favorite features on the Solaris, because it opens up a whole new world. Absolutely it does. And then of course you just click on Set and click on OK, and it takes it over to your embroidery edit screen. Okay. Pretty cool. Now, And then, so we've talked about all of those 6 different features in IQ just for the decorative fills. And that's what I wanted to cover tonight, because I think many of us are afraid to play with some of those buttons, let alone stitch them out. But I can tell you, I've actually stitched this out by doing the random shift on those pebbles, and they look awesome quilted. There's also another one. Hold on. In the Solaris, there are 2 different pebble patterns to play with. No, there's 3 actually. So number 5, and that's in, number 5 is also in the Altair, the Destiny, and the Meridian. So when we scroll down, here we go. This is one of the newest ones, number 38. It already has different size, and it's this one right here. It already has different size pebbles in it. That's a beautiful one. I really love that one. And number 32, actually, when you stitch that out, they look more octagon here, but stitched out, they're not. It's the little squares that set them together that makes them look like that.